deck build packs Wild Survivors has just been revealed. We know almost nothing about it, but they did reveal the three main archetypes of it, and in my opinion, the most interesting one is Transcendrake, a dinosaur archetype that promises to use different kinds of summoning methods, something we haven't really seen from dinosaurs. Mostly it just relies on either the main deck or one single summoning type. The only dinosaur deck that used a variety of extra deck cards is Dino Wrestlers, and that didn't exactly go very well, so it is definitely interesting to see potentially a second shot at dinosaurs being an extra deck toolbox deck. Well, as for the pre-existing dinosaur support that will probably be relevant, there's the obvious set of sort of generic dinosaurs. The iconic Ultimate Conductor Tyranno, Miscellaneosaurus, Oviraptor, Babycerosaurus, and Archosaur are all very relevant and will probably be played to some degree in the deck, especially cards like Misk, which is one of the strongest type support cards in the entire game, and UCT, which is one of the best boss monsters printed in Yu-Gi-Oh! History, even years after its release. I don't think it's probably controversial to say that these will be relevant, although I believe that cards like Oviraptor, Babycerosaurus, and Archosaur might not see too much play if the deck doesn't rely on destruction or has better normal summons. But one piece of very interesting generic dinosaur support that I think might be relevant is Super Ancient Dinobeast. That is a level 8 Earth dinosaur, which can be tribute summoned using one dinosaur you control and really doesn't have any other summoning methods. That might give you a hint on the age of this card, but its main effect is incredibly strong provided Transcendrake summons from the graveyard often. That is that when a dinosaur monster is special summoned from your graveyard while this monster is on the field, you can draw one card, and that is not once per turn. So if Transcendrake uses the graveyard a lot, Dinobeast might let you just keep drawing cards to infinity. And if there's any way to easily summon Dinobeast, which Dinosaurs has plenty of ways to summon high-level dinosaurs from the deck, it might be relevant. Speaking of relevant generic support, we have the Doodlebeasts, which are probably the most recent generic dinosaur support, but they're definitely interesting. Doodlebeast Tyranno and Stego are the two monsters of this sort of mini archetype, and Stego allows it to summon itself. If you only control dinosaurs or no monsters, you can just summon it from hand, and when it's summoned, you can add a Doodle Book spell trap from your deck to your hand, then discard one card. Now, the existing Doodle Book spell trap is their trap card, which, when your dinosaur monster targeted for attack, you can negate it, summon a Doodlebeast from the grave, give it protection but try in the end phase. Then if this card is in your graveyard, except for the turn it's sent there, you can banish it to search a high-level dinosaur. Then Tyranno can tribute summon it on the opponent's turn, and then destroy a monster your opponent controls. These are interesting cards and have a good shot at being relevant in the new dinosaur deck, given that they're completely generic, although they don't really help summon from the extra deck, so they might not see much play. As for the fully generic extra deck cards, there's only really two relevant dinosaur ones. Well, relevant. We have the Xyz number 61 Volcasaurus, which is not bad. It allows itself to spell speed 1, destroy a face-up monster your opponent controls, do burn damage, but it cannot attack directly. While this isn't a bad card per se, it definitely shows its age. It has no way to interrupt the opponent, has no real protection, and is kind of awkward to summon, unless the deck relies on level 5s. But it's definitely worth looking into. It's not a bad card at all, and definitely competent going second. Now, Dynatank is one of the most baffling cards ever released. It came out 4 months ago, or actually less than 4 months. I think 2. It's worse than most 2004 fusions, isn't even a dinosaur, but its effects all revolve around dinosaurs. I would be amazed if this has any relevance at all in the new deck, but, you know, it's worth keeping in mind in case its Ruling's Nightmare of an effect ends up being relevant. And the other sort of generic support is Fire Opalhead, the only dinosaur pendulum, and it's a normal monster. Now, while I doubt this is going to be a pendulum deck, I would have expected them to at least mention it. If it is, Opalhead probably won't be relevant, but, you know, maybe. Notably, there is no dinosaur ritual monster. There's a shot that this deck will use rituals, and if it does, there's plenty of generic ritual support, and that could be very strong, but as of right now, there's no dinosaur-specific ritual cards, unfortunately. As far as archetypal dinosaur cards that might be relevant, starting with the oldest one, Jurak. Now, the only main deck Jurak I would see being relevant is Jurak Aelio, which is a fine tuner, most notably for being a level 1 tuner, but without cards like Hulk or Danglong, I don't really see it having much of a chance to be anything real. It doesn't help the Jurak Synchros could definitely be better. Meteor's actual on-field effect is pretty incredible, but summoning it is almost impossible. Unless the new deck, Transcendrake, allows you to summon it easily, I don't see it being relevant at all. The other Jurak Synchros show how old they are, and they weren't even very good when they came out. They're not even worth acknowledging because they have battle phase effects exclusively that are bad, and they don't do anything that something like UCT doesn't already do. But the next generic-ish Dinosaur archetype is fascinating because evils have a ton of potential, and if Transcendrake even remotely helps them, that could be very impressive. Now, notably, the evil extra deck monsters are dinosaurs, and a portion of their main deck monsters are reptiles, the evil tiles, but hopefully Transcendrake won't lock itself into dinosaurs only. There's a good chance it will, given that, well, it's a generic extra deck summoning deck, and so the concept of it locking itself into dinosaurs or even its own archetype is possible, but in the case it isn't, evils are worth looking into. The evil tiles have some very strong effects. The evosaurs do not, but they are dinosaurs. But the most notable part is the extra deck. The evil Zars are all very strong, and honestly, if they were printed today, they wouldn't be that shocking. Evil Zar Solda is a rank 6 that you might not recognize. It's definitely by far the least played one, but it has protection and it can negate special summons. Then we have Lagia and Dolka, the rank 4s you probably do recognize from standard dinosaur decks. They're still played in dinosaurs even right now. Dolka can not once return negate a monster effect, Lagia can then negate spell traps or summons, although it has attached 2 materials for this. All of these are incredibly strong. If the deck can summon them at all, it will absolutely play them. Although Solda is probably the least likely to be good, it'd be fun to have it actually see some meta relevance. Now as for what I think is most likely to be relevant in the deck, Dinomorphia. This is already an incredibly strong archetype that has meta relevance, being able to completely floodgate the opponent out of their game with its strong fusion monsters. But if this is accessible in Transcendrake, that will be incredible. Rexsturm is an amazing card. Kentrigina is an amazing card. Stealthburgy is good. Their main deck cards are very strong, powerful traps. So any amount of playability is going to be relevant. This will make Transcendrake, theoretically, way more viable going first, especially if it actually needs the help going first. So definitely keep an eye on Dinomorphias. As well, they're all dinosaurs. Now as for one that is less likely to be relevant, we have Dino Wrestlers. Most of these are bad, I don't think I need to tell you that. Pankratops is by a long shot the best one. You know, Iguanodraca is a decent card, but really mostly supports Dino Wrestlers. Same as the Stegosaur. Colosseate is a okay card. Vionyx is bad. Their fusion is okay. Their Synchro is the most relevant one, Giga Spinosavate. Now this is a fascinating level 8 Synchro that is completely generic as far as dinosaurs are concerned. Now its actual effects are decent, it's especially good for going second, but it's nice to already have a pre-existing level 8 Synchro, as those are pretty much the most common Synchro type. So Transcendrake might be able to make good use of this. It's not a bad card for sure, and it's nice to have just in case. The actual Dinosaur Wrestler Link monsters, well, the Link 2 is good, but only for Dino Wrestlers. The Link 3 is... I don't know what was happening here. And Chimera T-Rextal is just kind of bad. It's worse than Spinosavate in most ways, and its most notable effect is a dollar store version of Absolute Zero. Now, as far as what I think has the best shot at being relevant, well, Dinomorphias are probably the most likely to be actually good in the deck as far as extra deck cards. You know, because Dinomorphias specifically don't really lock themselves in an annoying way. So, you know, being able to drop Rexsturm alongside whatever powerful Transcendrake cards exist is going to be very good. And then, of course, the obligatory Misk. I would be amazed if they design a dinosaur deck that either doesn't want to or doesn't need to play Misk. Same goes for Ultimate Conductor Tyranno. This card is incredibly strong, and makes any dinosaur deck better, basically. The concept of evils being good is fascinating, as the evil Zors are very strong, and the evil main deck cards have some potential, and that's about it. For the most part, dinosaurs don't have a ton of support, but the little they have is very good, and I'm very optimistic for Transcendrake's potential to be a meta deck, maybe even tier 1 provided you design it correctly. I do definitely expect a very unique playstyle. Usually in the deck build packs, they like to make the decks kind of strange and weird in the way they act. Take for example Eldritch, a trap monster deck. Emancipator is reliant on excavating cards. Sky Striker only uses spells. Ikanko is a deck entirely based around inflicting damage to your opponent by reflecting battle damage. Runic is a deck of all spell cards. Even some of the worst ones are pretty unique still. It's deck build packs usually have very much uniqueness, so maybe all of this will be thrown out the window if the deck functions in a very strange way, or all of this might be playable if it's completely generic as far as dinosaurs are concerned and wants to play these cards. It's overall pretty exciting. Dinosaurs are fun, and it's nice to see them get even more support after something like Dinomorphia. And that's all for now. Thank you for watching, and feel free to leave any feedback you have in the comments, and subscribe if you want to see more in the future.